Here's Herm Edwards on Shedeur Sanders and the path forward.
I've known Shedeur since he was a little kid. I know his dad pretty well. So, because he plays that position, how you address the media, how you address the fan base, when you hear other quarterbacks maybe address them, he's a little bit different. And that can rub some people the wrong way. But I think at the end of the day, what matters is, does it rub the team the wrong way? And obviously it does not. Whether you like the way he goes about his business when he's talking to the media, that's your problem, not his, because he's not going to change. He's not. He's a very confident guy, but he also brings confidence to his football team. And the key to quarterback play is real simple for me. When those 10 guys walk in the huddle and you're the quarterback, do they think that you can win? And I think this team thinks he can win. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
The truth about why Jimmy Haslam might fire Kevin Stefanski just got exposed in the most revealing conversation between two Browns insiders who admitted that Stefanski's evaluation of Shedeur Sanders was so bad that the alternative is that you legitimately looked at Shedeur in everything that he was doing and thought Dillon Gabriel is better than that. And one analyst flat out said, if you're Stefanski, you kind of hope people think you sabotage Shedeur because the alternative is that you were so wrong with your evaluation that you just can't be trusted to evaluate anything moving forward. Even more explosive, Herm Edwards, who's known Shedeur since he was a kid, just went on record saying, when those 10 guys walk in the huddle and you're the quarterback, do they think that you can win? And I think this team thinks he can win, while destroying the scouting community for completely missing what made Shedeur so appealing is part of what will make him appealing to all the players in the locker room, essentially confirming that Stefanski ignored the leadership factor that separates franchise quarterbacks from backup-level talents. But the most damning revelation came when these insiders admitted that people that loved Stefanski and thought he was going to be this all-knowing great coach were also the same type of people that trusted what was coming out of Berea and believed Dillon Gabriel was a much better quarterback than Shedeur, proving that Stefanski's inner circle created a false narrative to protect his reputation. And now that Shedeur has exposed the lies, Haslam has no choice but to clean house. Look, y'all need to sit down for this one, because what I'm about to break down isn't just another hot take about Kevin Stefanski and the Browns. This is two Browns insiders having the most honest conversation about Stefanski's future that you'll ever hear, and they basically admitted that Stefanski's evaluation of Shedeur Sanders was so catastrophically wrong that it disqualifies him from being a head coach moving forward. Let me set the scene. These two analysts are discussing whether Shedeur Sanders can save Kevin Stefanski's image, which is already a wild premise, and one of them drops an atomic bomb that changes the entire conversation. He says, I don't think the sabotage. I think, if anything, if you're Stefanski, you kind of hope people think you sabotage Shedeur in many ways, because the alternative is that you legitimately looked at Shedeur in everything that he was doing and thought Dillon Gabriel is better than that. Y'all, do you understand what this analyst just said? He's saying that Kevin Stefanski would prefer if people thought he sabotaged Shedeur Sanders, because the truth is actually worse. The truth is that Stefanski watched Shedeur in training camp. He watched him in practice. He saw him throw the ball better than Dillon Gabriel. He saw him command the huddle. He saw everything. And his genuine evaluation, his actual football opinion, was that Dillon Gabriel was the better quarterback. That's not sabotage. That's incompetence. The analyst continues. The worst world here for Stefanski is either you were sabotaging, which I don't believe, by the way. I fall into the second bucket of people, and that's why I think Stefanski is trying to help out Shedeur now and get him to a spot where both of them can have success and he can ultimately save Stefanski's job. But I look at him in the second bucket of people, that he was so wrong with his evaluation that he just can't be trusted to evaluate anything moving forward. He just can't be trusted to evaluate anything moving forward. That's a Browns insider saying on the record that Kevin Stefanski's judgment is so flawed that he shouldn't be making personnel decisions anymore. Not because he's malicious, not because he has an agenda, but because his football evaluation is fundamentally broken. And then the analyst drives the point home. He watched these practices, and he watched these games, and he watched everything. And his takeaway was, yeah, Dylan's the better quarterback, which is an insane thought to have. He just missed the evaluation by a wide margin. He didn't sabotage anybody. He just really sucks at evaluating football. He just really sucks at evaluating football. Y'all, that's the conclusion. Kevin Stefanski, the supposed quarterback whisperer, the coach of the year winner, the guy who's supposed to be some offensive genius, looked at Shedeur Sanders throwing dimes in practice, commanding respect in the locker room, showing elite pocket presence, and thought, nah, Dylan Gabriel is better. That's a fireable offense, not because it's malicious, but because it proves he doesn't have the eye for talent that head coach needs to have.
Part of what Herm's assessment is that I find so fascinating, and this is where I think a lot of the scouting community and a lot of the people that like do draft evaluations, where I think they just completely missed, is they didn't understand Shedeur the person. Mm-hmm. Like they missed out on the idea of part of what made Shedeur so appealing is part of what will make him appealing to all the players that he's in the locker room with, and part of the idea of Shedeur is that he's a one of one in many aspects. You're not going to be able to outwork him. You're not going to be able to figure out ways to keep him down. And like everything that he has offered up is just, it's unique, and it's why people gravitate to him. And so like Herm talking about that, it's the part that I love that John Dorsey had within himself.
But here's where the story gets even more revealing. Because Herm Edwards, a former NFL head coach who's known Shedeur since he was a child, just gave the most powerful explanation for why Kevin Stefanski got this evaluation so wrong. The analyst sets it up perfectly. Part of what Herm's assessment is that I find so fascinating, and this is where I think a lot of the scouting community and a lot of the people that do draft evaluations where I think they just completely missed, is they didn't understand Shedeur the person, and like they missed out on the idea of part of what made Shedeur so appealing is part of what will make him appealing to all the players that he's in the locker room with. They didn't understand Shedeur the person. That's the key. The scouting community and Kevin Stefanski evaluated Shedeur like he was a robot. They looked at arm strength, footwork, release time, all the mechanical stuff, but they completely ignored the intangibles that separate franchise quarterbacks from clipboard holders. The analyst continues, part of the idea of Shedeur is that he is a one of one in many aspects. You're not going to be able to outwork him. You're not going to be able to figure out ways to keep him down. And like all the everything that he has offered up is just unique, and it's why people gravitate to him. You're not going to be able to outwork him. That's leadership. That's the X factor that makes teammates believe. That's what John Dorsey saw in Baker Mayfield when he grabbed his you-know-what against Kansas, and Dorsey said, "That's my guy." That's the it factor that you can't teach, can't measure, can't replicate. And Kevin Stefanski ignored it, or worse, he didn't even see it. Then Herm Edwards comes in and destroys the entire scouting community's evaluation of Shedeur. I've known Shedeur since he's a little kid. I know his dad pretty well. So because he plays that position, how you address the media, how you address the fan base, when you hear other quarterbacks maybe address him, he's a little bit different, and that can rub some people the wrong way. But I think at the end of the day, what matters is, does it rub the team the wrong way? And obviously, it does not. Does it rub the team the wrong way? And obviously, it does not. Boom. Herm just answered the only question that matters. Shedeur's confidence, his swagger, his style. It doesn't matter if media doesn't like it. It doesn't matter if scouts don't like it. The only thing that matters is, do his teammates believe in him? And the answer is yes, emphatically yes. Herm continues, whether you like the way he goes about his business when he's talking to the media, that's your problem, not his, because he's not going to change. He's not. He's a very confident guy, but he also brings confidence to his football team. And the key to quarterback play is real simple for me. When those 10 guys walk in the huddle and you're the quarterback, do they think that you can win? And I think this team thinks he can win. That's all that matters at the end of the day. When those 10 guys walk in the huddle, do they think that you can win? That's the litmus test for franchise quarterbacks, y'all. Not completion percentage, not yards per attempt, not passer rating. Do your teammates believe you can win when it matters? And based on what we've seen from Wyatt Teller, Jerry Jeudy, and the rest of the Browns offense talking about Shedeur's contagious confidence, the answer is yes. But Kevin Stefanski didn't evaluate that. He didn't value that. He looked at Dylan Gabriel's quiet leadership, or whatever corporate buzzword he used, and decided that was better than Shedeur's natural charisma and commanding presence. The analyst brings it all together. I think part of why Stefanski continues to get this whole thing wrong is the idea that he doesn't account for what Herm is talking about at the end right there. Do the other 10 guys in the huddle think that you can win with this guy? Like these little things that don't necessarily show up if you're a box score jockey necessarily. The little things that don't show up if you're only judging, hey, here's a defense, go ahead and tell me how to read that in a meeting. These little things that do matter in the big picture of football and matter with how you could get a team really playing their very best. And then he drops this. I feel like Stefanski's evaluation of this, when it came to Baker, he completely ignored it, and when it comes to Shedeur, he just completely discredited in a way where it's the only thing I can think of for how he looked at Dylan Gabriel and said this guy's better, and it's insane to me that you would just completely neglect that whole part of the game. Kevin Stefanski has a pattern. With Baker Mayfield, he ignored the leadership factor. With Shedeur Sanders, he discredited it. He's shown twice now that he doesn't value the intangibles that make great quarterbacks great. And that's why Jimmy Haslam, if he's smart, will fire him.
Reflective point of all this, and I think what's really happening is I think a lot of people are really wrong about Kevin Stefanski the entire time.
Would agree.
And this is their way of trying to get back and being like, no, see, I wasn't that wrong. He is good. Like, think about it. The people that loved Stefanski and thought Stefanski was going to be this all-knowing great coach until the end of time, and they put him up in these rarefied airs, and they went to the galas, and they did all this other stuff, those type of people, they were also the same type of people that trusted what was coming out of Berea and trusting what the Browns were saying, and that Dylan Gabriel was a much better quarterback than Shedeur. The through line between people that believe in Shedeur and believe in Stefanski is very, very, very tiny. Mm-hmm. And so, like, this is their way, and this is where I think this is so wrong, and this is where I hate this for Shedeur. This is where they're trying to then take back the idea.
There's a cabal of media members, analysts, and insiders who tied their credibility to Kevin Stefanski. They promoted him. They defended him. They built up this image of him as some offensive genius. And those same people, because they were getting their information from Stefanski and his staff, believed Dylan Gabriel was better than Shedeur. They repeated the lies about Shedeur's poor practice habits and inability to grasp the playbook, because that's what they were being told by Stefanski's camp. The analyst continues, the through line between people that believe in Shedeur and believe in Stefanski is very, very, very tiny. And so this is their way, and this is where I think this is so wrong, and this is where I hate this for Shedeur. This is where they're trying to then take back the idea that Stefanski's some sort of awesome coach, and he knows exactly what he's doing, as if this was some sort of plan that he had birthed. They're trying to rewrite history, y'all. Now that Shedeur is succeeding, all these Stefanski loyalists are trying to act like this was the plan all along, like Stefanski knew Shedeur was talented and was just developing him at fourth string. But the analyst destroys that narrative. It's like, no, this wasn't a plan that you had birthed. This is the fourth quarterback that you went to. And because he's so talented and he's so good, he was able to overcome everything you put in front of him. And like, that's the part that just makes me so angry about it. It's their way of trying to make peace with the fact that they were dead wrong about Shedeur to begin with, and they were dead wrong about who Stefanski is as a coach. They were dead wrong about both. And here's the kicker. Some of these people still believe that Stefanski only played Shedeur because ownership forced him to. The analyst says, don't forget that some of these people who have embraced certain narratives, these are the people who believe, as of right now, Kevin only went to Shedeur because he was made to, not just because of the concussion, but that he was instructed to continue playing Shedeur after Dylan Gabriel got healthy. So even now, even with Shedeur breaking records and making history, these Stefanski loyalists can't admit they were wrong. They're creating conspiracy theories about ownership forcing Stefanski's hand instead of just accepting the obvious truth. Stefanski's evaluation was terrible, and Shedeur succeeded despite him, not because of him. The other analyst makes a crucial point about how this differs from other quarterback situations. Look around the league. Zach Taylor for years got looked at as, "What are you doing? You're along for the ride with Joe Burrow." No one thinks of Todd Bowles as some sort of magic quarterback whisperer when it comes to Baker Mayfield. Sean McDermott is looked at as along for the ride when it comes to what's going on with Josh Allen. There's Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. People don't think Nick Sirianni is in there making Jalen Hurts any better any given day. Like, there's a lot of quarterback situations where the quarterback does in fact get the bulk of the credit. Exactly. When great quarterbacks succeed, they get the credit. Coaches are seen as along for the ride. But with Stefanski and Shedeur, the narrative is already being shaped to give Stefanski the credit, to act like he developed Shedeur, to pretend like this was all part of his master plan. The analyst concludes, and what's interesting is that this one is shaping out to be not that, and it's not the right situation. It's not the right situation because Stefanski doesn't deserve the credit. He buried Shedeur at fourth string. He refused to give him first-team reps. He took him out for crucial plays. He evaluated Dillon Gabriel as better. Shedeur succeeded in spite of all that, and now Stefanski loyalists are trying to steal the narrative. But Jimmy Haslam knows the truth. He saw Stefanski's evaluation process. He saw the dysfunction. He saw how wrong Stefanski was. And that's why, if these reports are accurate, Haslam is ready to make a change. Not because Stefanski sabotaged Shedeur, but because his evaluation skills are so fundamentally flawed that he can't be trusted anymore. So here's my question for all of you. Is it worse that Stefanski genuinely believed Dillon Gabriel was better than Shedeur, proving he sucks at evaluating football, versus if he had actually sabotaged Shedeur? Does Herm Edwards saying when those 10 guys walk in the huddle, do they think you can win, expose the leadership factor that Stefanski completely ignored in his evaluation? And should Jimmy Haslam fire Stefanski for the same reason he missed on Baker Mayfield, because he doesn't value the intangibles that make franchise quarterbacks great? Drop your thoughts in the comments because these Browns insiders just admitted that Stefanski's evaluation was so catastrophically wrong that he just can't be trusted to evaluate anything moving forward. If you believe Shedeur succeeded despite Stefanski, not because of him, smash that subscribe button. The truth is finally coming out. The people who loved Stefanski were the same people who believed Dillon Gabriel was better, and they were dead wrong about both. Let's go.